Hey Rick,
Hey, Megan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's Friday, and
It is.
usually we record these on Tuesday, but
Hmm.
I've had a very busy week this week. My daughter graduated from high school.
Yay, congratulations. That's
I
so
am
cool.
so proud of her. She was
Yeah.
the number one student in her high school for anatomy and
Wow.
physiology. She got like a
Wow.
4.2 GPA. I mean, that kid before COVID did not miss one day of high school.
That's
Not one
amazing.
day. Yeah. So we've been celebrating her this week and
Good job.
definitely making the best of the situation. So I've been a little distracted, but I'm glad that you made some time for us to Zoom meet today because
Yeah.
I've got a good topic for you.
Hmm.
So what I wanted to talk about this week was loan points. When someone
Hmm.
is offered to pay a point, like what does that mean? What is a point? How much does it cost? Is it a good idea? I wanted to get your feedback on that.
Yeah, it's a great question. So, points, well, points can be expensive. So points are a function of the cost of a point is a function of the loan amount. So if it's a 1 point loan, that's 1% of the actual loan amount. So if you had a $400,000 mortgage, 1 point is $4,000. If you had a half a point, that's $2,000 on a $400,000 mortgage. So points can be expensive. For the most part, I find that the rates as low as they are right now, Megan, paying points is not always a better value.
Mm-hmm.
And home buyers are very cost conscious, and I oftentimes, unless somebody really wants that next lowest rate, rates are already low, they're really better to spend that $4,000 or so in the house. Maybe once they move in, they want to do something, upgrade something, they can spend the money with that. So I ran some numbers earlier today, just give you kind of
Oh,
put that in
good.
kind of reference for you. So
Perfect.
let's say for example, you could do a loan at say 400,000, just for the example, at 3.125 and 0 points. That's always the best value, right? But if you wanted to go down to say 2.99, that would cost 3/8 of a discount point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The difference in your payment though, between the 3.125 and 2.99 is only $29 a month.
Oh, Lord. You'd
Yeah,
have to live there for 20 years to make up that 3/8 of a point.
a long time. I just did the math real fast. I should have earlier.
Yeah,
So at 400,000 on 3/8 of a discount point, that's $1,500
right.
to save $29 a month.
Doesn't make any sense.
Right. So buyers get accustomed, like, what's the lowest rate? Well, you can always go to a lower rate, but at what cost, right? So when I show a buyer the relationship between the cost of that money versus what they're saving, they go, that doesn't make any sense, right? So that's really the better way to go. Yes, you can do loans below 3%, but at what cost, right? So,
Yeah, and I saw this other deal the other day with a client that I referred out of state, and she called
mhm,
me and we were talking, and she said how the lender was giving her a credit,
mhm,
like a closing cost credit,
mhm,
but that she
mhm,
was paying a point. And
mhm.
I thought to
Wow,
myself,
that's
well,
weird.
yeah, because the loan was like, the purchase price was like 750, but the loan was
Mhm,
about 4. So
mhm,
so so I think he's charging her a
mhm,
point to pay her
mhm,
$2,500.
mhm.
I mean, those
That's
are
true.
kind of sneaky,
Yeah, a lot of those
non-transparent.
lenders, it is. A lot of lenders play games with those numbers because, home buyers, we all want the lowest possible rate. And by the way, rates at this point, if I quoted a buyer today, closed loan at 3.125, we're not going to look back in 5 years and go, hey, that 3.125 was a really crummy deal. That's a
Yeah, why
great
didn't
deal.
I get the 2.99 or yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So a lot of lenders will play games with that. They have the teaser, I call it teaser copy. They send stuff out and they advertise 2.9 or whatever they want to advertise, and it sounds pretty sexy until they get their disclosure. And they go,
Right,
holy cow, we're spending a ton of money here,
right,
right? So it's really better to be more transparent right up front and go, look, here's the math, here's how
right.
this works, and here's what the benefit is to you. However, on the flip side of that, where it does make sense sometimes. Let's say someone is short money to close. They need some help with some money, right?
Right.
The flip side of that is we can raise that rate a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we can raise the rate maybe 1/8 or 1/4%, give them $3,000 or $4,000 in closing costs for a difference of $29 in payment or
Okay.
$35 in payment. So if someone needs an extra $3,000 or $4,000 to close, and we can give that to them, and the trade-off is only a difference of $35 in payment, that's a pretty good value at that point.
Yeah.
Right? They're
At
still
some
getting a
point,
great rate.
yeah, it's like if there's a decision like that, and the decision is to own a home or to not
Mhm.
own a home, I think, for an extra, $20, $30 a month, the choice
Right,
should be to own a home,
exactly.
Yeah.
And again, at those levels, something below 3.5%, getting your closing costs paid. I mean, think about that. Historically, anything 3.5% or lower is going to be a great rate forever,
Right.
right? So it's not a situation where we'll pay the higher rate now and then refinance it next year. That's not going to be the case. Take the 3.5 or 3 3/8, get the closing costs paid for you, and you still got a great loan for the life of the loan. No need
Right.
to refinance out of that. Take
Got
the
it.
cash.
I
Yeah.
have one other question. I'm going to spring it on you. So when
Uh,
you say a 3 3/8 um, uh, percentage for
mhm,
for the percentage rate. So
mhm,
3 3/8, because most people
mhm.
are used to talking like in quarters, right? 3 1/4,
Right, right.
3 1/2, and how does this 3 3/8, how does this work into the situation?
That's a great question. I get that a lot, actually. So people get confused with the difference between a fraction and a decimal.
Yes,
Okay.
okay.
So when I quote rates, typically quote in the decimal version. So, for example, you know, 3 3/8 or 3.375. 3 3/8 and 3.375 is the exact same rate.
Okay.
3.625 and 3 5/8 is the exact same rate. It's
Got
just
it.
the difference of the fraction versus the decimal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's what happens. Sometimes people think, if I quote them, for example, 3 5/8, then they get disclosed and it shows 3.625. They say, wait, I thought I was getting 3 5/8, right?
Right.
They think that 3 5/8 is 3.58, right? And then when they get the disclosure, it says
Right.
3.625, they go, wait, I
Yeah.
thought I was getting 3 5/8, right? So that's a very common misunderstanding on mortgage loans. So there's a difference between a fraction and a decimal.
Right. It's
They're
the
one and
same.
the same, though.
It's the same. It's just like this one's in English and this one's in Greek, but it says the
Yeah,
same
kind
thing.
of the same thing. It's the exact same payment either way. So 3 5/8 and 3.375 is the exact same payment.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
difference.
All right, good. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for
Great
solving
point,
some
by
of
the
these.
way. Yeah, I
Thanks
know,
for
right?
solving some of these mysteries today. I appreciate it. And
Yeah, sure.
I know we'll have lots to talk about next week. I will have a surprise success to celebrate next week with a special closing that we have. But until then,
We do.
have a
Thank you.
wonderful weekend
You as
and
well, Megan. Thanks.
step and thanks for all your hard work.
My pleasure. Thank you as well, Megan.
Thank
Take
you.
care.